in the booth. We are here with the number 3 ranked featherweight and number 6 pound for pound Bellator fighter, Arlene Aussie Girl Angerfist Blanco. And I am very excited to be talking to, a great ambassador for the sport, someone who's been around for a while, challenged for the title several times. So, Arlene, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. It's you're my actually welcome back to the podcast world. I haven't done one for a long, long time. So yeah, it's good to get back on there, and yeah, obviously remind people that I'm still very much on the scene, and yeah, have a chat about what I've been doing and what's ahead for me.
100%. Was it a conscious decision to do less media as well then? Because
Um,
I wasn't aware of that until you reached out that you really wanted to make a push again.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I kind of just last fight camp was a real tough fight camp for me. Yeah, and I didn't really do a lot of media pushing that fight. I kind of did the bare minimal with just what my manager had organised and the ones I had to
Mhm.
do. Normally, I'm a lot more vocal, doing as many podcasts as I can, and then post fight. Yeah, again, I just wasn't in a really good place. I just kind of wanted to step away from the fight world and obviously, I had knee surgery and I really wanted to focus on home life and, just I
Mhm.
guess me and my identity outside of the fight world and just really go back to just enjoying the simple things in life and detach myself from, me as a fighter. So, yeah, I wasn't ready to speak about it, but I'm very much ready to jump back into this world and, like I said, remind people that I'm still here.
Good, yeah, because I mean the mental side of things is always like 80% of the game. Some say,
100%.
so
Yeah.
you sort of
I,
try
Jimmy
different things out.
Crute Jimmy
Hmm.
Crute put a post up after his, recent loss, and it really resonated with me, and kind of was exactly how I was feeling after my last fight. Like, I went through a lot, sort of in the fight camp itself, and yeah, for those people that were watching closely, I was taking my gloves off, and yeah, I was ready to sort of put them down and in the cage, and very similar to what he was looking like. We were all thinking, gosh, he's retiring, and yeah, just that same sort of relationship with the sport. Like a lot of people don't realize how much this sport takes from you. Like it gives us absolutely everything, and this sport's given me absolutely everything that I have, but it takes a lot from you too. So, you really need to have a healthy relationship with it, and love what you do and be enjoying it for it to, just for you to be able to deal with it all. So
Hmm.
yeah, I found my way back, and I'm ready to jump back into things.
So something interesting is always, especially when fighters get later into their career, it's gratitude. They start like discovering gratitude, and but it's a difficult line to be like wanting to achieve the highest thing in the sport, like winning world titles and everything like that.
Yeah,
And because the toughness of the challenge, it makes for setbacks, more setbacks probably. So
100%.
there's a tough relationship, right, between like wanting to achieve that and also just having gratitude for just being there.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much sums up my career because I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, it was 10 years ago. I won my two boxing world titles. That I don't know if you can see them in the back there on the bottom shelf, but and yeah, I've been chasing that feeling of becoming a world champion again, and I've fallen short in the Bellator cage, and that's my ultimate goal is to be the Bellator featherweight world champion, and it's hard because you come back from defeat and not achieving that goal, and you think like you kind of throw your hands in the air and you're kind of trying to find it where you are. And yeah, you really do have to be like grateful for everything you've achieved along the way. And for me, looking at what I've done over the last 14 years in this sport as a combat athlete, and how it's helped my personal life, and the things that I've been able to do because of my fight career, the avenues, the people I've met, financially, me, the growth of me as a person. There's so many things to be grateful for. So yeah, the ultimate goal of being the world champion isn't the be all and end all. Obviously, the ultimate goal is that, but yeah, you do have to constantly sit back and remind yourself about how far you've come and what you've achieved in those small little steps on your way to becoming the world champion.
Hmm. And I was going to get to this later, but since we already got here, because you've challenged for the Bellator title 3 times, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and does it, because you are someone who I see as like you've matured into the game like a fine wine. You've gotten better later on. Um, Is it like frustrating knowing that it's achievable for you because you've been so close, you know, that it's
Yeah,
something
yeah,
that you cannot let go of, and it's just gonna be a constant chase.
pretty much. And that's, yeah, I guess that's why I'm still here too, because um yeah, it's right there and I'm right there. Obviously it's quite disappointing for me to having slipped that last loss against Sarah, and kind of taking myself out of that title contention, and now having to work a little bit harder to get back there again. But because my only up until my last loss, my only losses were those title fights against the world champions. So not taking anything away from Sarah, she was coming out from the UFC. She's a tough opponent, and she will go very, very well in the featherweight rankings within Bellator. But yeah, I just wish a better version of me had turned up on the night, just so that I could be right back there, jumping up and down for that title again, and holding that gatekeeper hashtag that I was holding after the last Cyborg fight.
Hmm. And so because the last fight, I mean, up until the end, like you were still in it because you rocked her as well in the third round. I remember. Um,
Yeah.
but what are some of the things that you think went wrong? You know.
Yeah, I had a couple of setbacks, and I'm not going to sit here and make excuses. Sarah won that fight fair and square. The better fighter turned up on the night, and that purely was it. Yeah, like I said, a couple of setbacks in the fight camp. It was a long fight camp, and taking a step away from the fight scene and really sort of reevaluating things and looking at what happened. Like I had that stellar performance against Cyborg in 2022. Obviously again, Cyborg won that, but I mean, I went the 5 rounds with her. It's something that nobody else inside the Bellator cage has been able to do. There's only 2 of us fighters, both Holly Holm and I, that have ever gone the distance with Cyborg. She's a finisher. So, I came off that stellar performance with that. I came off with a heap of confidence, thinking, well, I've stood 5 rounds in front of Chris Cyborg, the goat of the MMA scene. Like, she's done it all. So I came off with a heap of confidence and was super keen just to get straight back in there. I was straight back into training. And then we were hoping to fight later on in the year in 2022, and that didn't happen. And yeah, fast forward, it was 12 months later until when I finally fought again. So it was 12 months of me being mentally and physically switched on, waiting for a fight. And then by the time I actually got the fight news at the beginning of this year, I started fight camp with a concussion. I had there's just a few little setbacks through camp that was definitely made it not a great camp at all. And that was probably one of the reasons I didn't want to get on and do many media podcasts and interviews, because I didn't want to be that person. Most people get on there and be like, I'm in the best shape of my life, and I've had the best camp. But, I'm not someone, I'm going to say it how it is. And so I didn't really want to say how it was in interviews. So and then come fight night, I even know from how I felt inside that cage, there was moments, especially there was a lot of ground time in that fight, and there was a lot of times where I could have changed positions and got the upper hand, but I just didn't have that grunt in me. And that was the main thing that I wanted to make sure that I'm bringing back now in my training before I start another fight camp, because I'm not going to step back inside that Bellator cage being that same fighter that I was in my last fight. I showed the grunt, like you said, in the 3rd round, because my coach just told me I need to go out there and knock her out, and I kind of, I brought that back. So I'm happy with that. But I just want my old version back, and these last couple of weeks of training showed that she's coming back. So it's exciting.
Awesome, and that's like part of just having experience in the sport to know at what moments you need to take more time off, maybe to get
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, not just
Well,
physically,
I think
mentally, but I wasn't aware that there was something physically going on either as well in
well, I mean,
training camp.
I guess the good thing for me, and you know what, I'm one of those people that is a big believer in like blessings, like having blessings in disguise. Post fight, I went straight into surgery. I had surgery on my knee, so that actually forced me away from the gym. It had been the longest time that I was away from fight training, and I was taken away. The only thing that I was able to do was obviously my knee recovery, and as the weeks went on, I was slowly allowed to be reintroduced into swimming and then boxing pad rounds. And I've just last week gone back to wrestling training. Tomorrow I go start jiu-jitsu. So everything's been added in. So it's like having it taken away from me has made me appreciate it and look forward to it. And, like I was allowed to run, it was last week, and it was like Christmas. So it's having that surgery and having an injury like that. I had to actually learn to walk again. So it just was, it's all been a blessing in disguise. It was exactly what I needed mentally and physically. To bring the hunger back in and the passion and the love for what I do.
So that's sort of like you had a taste of what it would be like for it to be taken away from you in a way.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's another new lesson that you just learned there.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah. Well, I mean,
was
I've had
curious.
a few
Oh, go
times
ahead.
throughout my career where those instances have happened, and again they've been blessings in disguise. Like a few years ago when I broke my hand, I was going through a similar stage and was contemplating possible retirement, this and that, and decided to take a boxing fight just to see if I still had it. And it just happened that I broke my hand in that boxing fight, and similar sort of thing. I had was taken away from like fight training in bits and pieces, and that was what it took to get that hunger back. So grateful for the little blessings.
Yeah, because what I wonder is, if you fought one of the goats twice, right, and especially putting on a great performance the second time and busting her up and all that, if the frustration of not winning that carries over into the next fight, that you're maybe too eager, or um maybe underestimate an opponent too, unconsciously. Not that you go in there,
Yeah.
but you think of yourself as, I am that person and I deserve to fight for that title every single time. You know?
Yeah.
Did that play a factor?
No, I guess not really. No, I mean, I look at every single opponent, and I mean, anyone that I face now, they're dangerous. And if anything, I prefer to fight someone like Cyborg because, being the underdog, that you're in for a fight. Whereas anyone that's not that Sarah's up and coming, but I remember a few years ago when I fought Diana Silva, she was new to the promotion, was an unranked fighter. I mean, they're dangerous fights to have because you don't really know what to expect. And, they're coming for it all. And the same thing, Sarah was coming for my number one ranking. Well, actually, it was number two because Kat took it before that fight. But like I knew Sarah was going to be a tough fight. I think I was just expecting a lot more out of myself, that it was just going to, I was going to jump back in the cage and bring that same sort of energy that I had from the Cyborg fight. But it's just a case of just being just mentally drained, and I guess physically, being switched on for that whole 12 months. And so
so it was still like you needed even more time, kind of. But you wouldn't think that, because usually you would fight more frequently, right? So
Oh, and I guess I guess it's a hard one for me now, and I do know that the matchmaking for Bellator is hard with the girls at the high level, because I've fought nearly everyone in the division now. There's only a couple of girls that haven't fought, but those couple of girls, I know Bellator possibly is saving them for a title shot. Like, I haven't fought Kat Zingano, but there's talk of her fighting obviously Chris, and then we've got Leah McCourt that I haven't fought yet, but she's also up there in title contention. So it's a hard one, them obviously getting the opportunity to fight me, and then if I stop them, then it just kind of makes, I guess they're just trying to avoid me and Chris Cyborg for a third fight. Even though
just
I think
because, I mean, that's what the MMA promotions do, they don't want to circulate the fight, too many times. Even if it's fair, like, so it's just, it's part of the it's part of the game when you have a structure that is like the way Bellator and the UFC do it, rather than a PFL, like, who have a league where it doesn't matter. Yeah.
I mean, I do like how PFL do it as well. That's super cool. It's kind of like there's no picking and choosing who you fight. It's kind of like, this is who you fight, and continue on. Like, it's and the girls know when they're fighting, and it's keeping them active. And it's cool. I mean, I'm enjoying seeing how that platform's working.
Yeah, because we've been working with them, especially the European contingent. PFL Europe came here, so it's just it makes it accessible as well for new fans and stuff that have been watching other sports to understand how the system works. Because there's a clear
Yeah, yeah.
structure to it: point system, knockout system, playoffs. So yeah. Um, before I go into that, there's a last one about Cyborg. Because now that you fought her twice, every time you learn more about her, and I'm pretty sure like the later the fight goes, the more you start figuring out like, I just found some new holes in your game. So you're probably eager to get in there and fight her the third time. Are there any things that you now found out again that you're like, I can capitalize on that? Any like
Um,
ways to beat her?
yeah, I mean, I think you just, yeah, I'm happy when, like, I mean, we took it into a dog fight in the last parts of the
It was so much
of the
fun.
fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of like one of those feelings where you just like there's always a stage in a fight where you just think, oh fuck it, like, obviously once I've been cut, or like, you've been hit a few times and you've got nothing to lose, and I knew I had nothing to lose. So
Mhm.
you take away from it being a pretty fight, and you just start throwing, you make it a fight. So um yeah, there's definitely things that I worked on straight away after that fight, and I wanted to improve on. And obviously it was yeah, maybe not being so defensive, improving on my wrestling, obviously, bits and pieces, which actually didn't really show in my Sarah McMahon fight because she out
Mhm.
wrestled me. But yeah, just going forward, being the aggressor. I think a lot of people when they do fight Chris are intimidated by her, which there's good reason to be. She hits
Yeah.
hard, that's for sure. But yeah, like I know I can take a punch and I can throw as well. So it's just taking that air of you know being afraid of being hit by her. But yeah,
Mhm.
so hopefully we do get a chance to fight again. But yeah, for me at the moment, I'm not really thinking about the title. Like I said, it's just kind of just focusing on this next fight and bringing me back. So whoever it is that
Mhm.
I'm fighting, it's just, yeah, bringing the old anger fist back.
Yeah, start working on that highlight reel. Just like think
Yeah.
about the highlight reel. Do you work with any sports psychologists, mental coaches, and stuff like that? Because the more the game advances, because I'm managing athletes now too, and this is starting to become a very big thing. Nutritionist is the biggest one that people are
Yeah.
open people's minds now and change their life and career, and then
Yeah.
mental coaches now are coming up.
100%. Yeah, no, I do. I work with a sports psychologist. My mental side of things has definitely always been a downfall of my fight career from the early stages. I guess for me, I was a lot of things in my personal life that I was dealing with too, and it was kind of carrying over into my life fight career, like with confidence and believing in yourself and this and that. But I work with a sports psychologist at Jacksonville Inc., Dr. William Shandon. So I've been working with him for a few years now, and yeah, it's definitely helped a lot of areas in like I guess my fight preparation, like during camp, and then obviously in the fight itself. Um, yeah, we made some big headway and a lot of improvements with how I approach my fights, and makes the whole experience actually a lot more pleasant.
Mhm.
I've said to a lot of people, normally I do fight camp and then I'd get to fight night and I'd just be like, nerves would be taking over, and I'd be sitting in the back change room. I'm like, oh my God, why am I here? Like, I actually hated fighting. Um, pardon me.
Mhm.
Hated the whole feeling, hated the whole experience. Um, yeah, so it's actually made the whole experience of fighting, being in the moment so much more enjoyable. And it's something that I'm actually really grateful for, because I am at the end of my career. So I would hate to, in 10 years' time, look back and think, God, I wish I had have enjoyed being in the change rooms, or I wish I had have enjoyed the walk out to the cage, or I wish I had have enjoyed the time in the cage more. So yeah, I'm grateful that, especially my last few fights, I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, it's a special time. Like, there's a lot of people who love MMA and have never experienced what it's like to be out in a change room, and you know
Mhm.
having all the other fighters in there preparing, the coaches, and especially for me being the fighter, like it's all about me and my preparation, like warming up for the fight, and then standing at the end of the walk to the cage and having the whole crowd look at you, the lights on you, and yeah, something I'm definitely glad I enjoy now, which is good, and soak up, which is nice, and enjoy the cage time. Done a lot of mental
Hmm.
practice and spent a lot of time in that cage. So when I do step in there, it just feels like it's like a training room, you know. So
So when do you feel like it started changing? That you suddenly started enjoying it again? Because again, it's something again, yeah, you want to cherish, you want to have those memories, especially at the highest level. And I've sit in cage side several times at Bellator, and the show they put on is amazing. I tell people, it might sometimes even be more like look better than the UFC because they also have those, uh, you know, your a personalized walkout. They have the stage where
yeah,
you walk the walkway. So yeah,
yeah.
you want to cherish those memories.
Yeah, definitely. Um, it started changing. I started working with Doc back in 2020 for my first cyborg fight, and I had the two fights then before obviously my second cyborg fight, and we made a lot of headway in the second cyborg fight, and it was really good because the mental practice for that fight, I could really just relive like go through a lot of obviously the first fight's experiences, which was really
Mhm.
good. So it's kind of like I wasn't just imagining what it was like in them, because I've actually done it. So I know what it, visualizing standing in front of Cyborg and the size of her, and yeah. So I feel like that fight camp we made a lot of improvements, and I guess it showed in my performance too. And obviously, the
Mhm.
fact that Cyborg finished me in the second round that first fight, and then I was able to go the 5 rounds with her and put on a fight, really showed how much improvement we'd made. Obviously, physically and mentally.
So yeah, and you also mentioned something about how when you're going through things personally as well, it affects your training, obviously, things like
Yeah.
that. How does your experience and also the inclusion of sort of a sports psychologist help in separating those two? Like, do you feel like it's easy for you to separate personal and if you're going through things outside of the cage and the sport itself?
I feel like when I first started fighting, my life was so chaotic that I used to try and separate the two. So, there'd be like obviously Anger Fist, and there'd be like, Arlene. But
Mhm.
as I guess my career and the years have gone on, my life isn't chaotic, and I have, you know, um, peace in all areas of my life. So I don't feel like I need to separate the two of them. So
Mhm.
yeah, I've been able to work on a lot of things. Me over the years as a person, I've grown and I've become obviously thanks to my fighting and training, definitely a lot more confident. I've explored different avenues, pursued things that I wouldn't normally pursue, and then obviously everything I've achieved in my fight career. So yeah, the two of them are blended together, and yeah, I don't feel like I have to separate them. Um, Obviously, earlier on when I mentioned how I guess I needed to find my identity again. Sometimes, yeah, fighting does just consume everything about me. It does take over. And
Mhm.
this is the thing, like in my household, like my fight career is pretty much what consumes our whole family sort of thing. Like, our family holidays have to get put on hold because of my fight career. My partner and I recently got engaged after my last fight. So yeah, even just plans for
Congratulations.
engagement party, wedding, like even
Wait.
yeah, expanding our sorry.
I
Oh,
was gonna say because you do fight in Hawaii a lot. That's not bad. you can
yeah,
you can
yeah. So
plan that.
we get engaged over there, but even expanding our family further is put on hold because of my fight career. So yeah, it just my whole identity, I guess, is me as a fighter. So that was something that I kind of wanted to separate a little bit from after the last fight, because I was feeling like I had an unhealthy relationship with my fight career. But for the most part, yeah, everything right now is great. So which just makes
Mhm.
things so much easier.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because you do want everything to go into your career, especially when you're in fight camp, for everything to be
Yeah.
focused on your career and everyone to be focused on your career with the support they give. But at the same time, it's not just with fighters, but everyone. I feel like it's sometimes difficult to separate yourself from the job if it's something that consumes you. And I have had to get over that too sometimes with being an entrepreneur. Like this is being my career, that it doesn't become my identity because I'm not only this. And that's when I started
Yeah.
exploring more skills as well. And that's why I do everything.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
Even
totally
though
get that, and I
yeah.
guess
Hmm.
that's why, like we were talking before this about soccer, and when
Yeah.
I'm not training and do my thing, like I'm a big soccer supporter, watching my partner and my son. I'm on the side of the soccer field 3 nights a week with him training, and yeah, I'm very much a homebody, and I love being a stay-at-home mum when I'm not training, and yeah, playing the housewife role. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's been nice the last couple of months, laying low on the fight side of things, and just and being me outside of fighting.
And does being a mother sort of also, because being a mother kind of, in my opinion or in my imagination, forces you to sort of play the mother role sometimes, and separate that from the fighter as well. Has that helped you sort of not be too consumed by being the fighter all the time, because you also
Oh,
have to be the mother at
100%.
home?
Yeah, well, that's it. I
Mm.
mean, I sit here and say that fighting is, in my thoughts every waking moment, but before that, it's being a mother. Like that is my number one role in life, being a
Mhm.
mother, and also being a supportive partner too. I'm just very, very lucky that my partner is super supportive of my career, and understands what needs to be done. Um, but yeah, no, being a mum, like it's funny over the years, like I share stories with teammates and stuff. Like, I mean, my son's 15 now, so I've been fighting for 14, just over 14 years. So he was still in nappies when I first started fighting and training, and you know, I'd be sparring and he'd be needing a nappy change, and I'd be quickly jumping out of the ring and changing nappy and then get back into my sparring. Or yeah, there's just so many things over the years that's just, I'm cutting weight one time for one of my fights, and I'm laying there cutting weight, and then I'm getting phone calls from Australia from my son needing to know where like something was or what time something was for his soccer. And yeah, it's they quickly pull you back into line. Like here I am, cutting weight for a massive fight overseas, and here he is calling me for something.
Man,
Um, yeah, that's important in his life, obviously.
so it must be hard to get used to as well. Like, I didn't even think of that. It's because
Yeah,
you
well, it's
have
all
to. You
I've ever
said,
known.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've always I love seeing development in women's sport, in combat sports, but not even that, in all sports. It's also seen the Women's World Cup now, but just how much women's sports evolved over the years. But and seeing all these mothers that are returning back to competition after they've had a baby, and this and that, and I kind of just sit there and think, like, I've been doing like this for over 14 years, and I was at those early days, I was a single mum of 2 kids. So, I know what it's like to have to juggle 2 kids, and, work commitments and training commitments and that. So, I kind of share that role, and understand where a lot of these athletes are coming from. So, and it's cool to see more and more women being able to do that.
Did you have so I think you had an ambition of starting an all female promotion, right?
Yeah, I've got a few
Yep.
things. It's so hard to like, I've got all these ideas, and I do want to get them up and running, but it's just so hard to do when I'm still competing, and the
Yeah.
commitments, like honestly at the moment, these last couple of weeks of getting back to fit has absolutely wiped me out. And I honestly haven't been able to do much else of anything else but train and recover. So but yeah, no, I've got heaps of ideas. I'd love to have an all women's promotion, similar to something like Invicta here in
Mhm.
Australia, a platform for the up and coming fighters to, and obviously with today's, media outlets, and just the exposure with fights being broadcasted overseas, like, and get these girls signed to overseas promotions, give them that platform here.
Mm.
We've got tomorrow night actually a No Limit all female boxing card. Taylor Harris is headlining it. So yeah, that's really cool to see that too. Like, just yeah, the involvement of women's sport, women's combat sport over the years since I've been fighting is amazing. And now to have an all-female show here in Australia, yeah, it's really cool to see.
Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic, and it all takes, it's just patience. Like, you don't even have to do it now. I think because throughout your career while you're fighting and everything, you end up meeting all these people, making all these connections to make those things easier, to facilitate that afterwards. So
Oh,
I don't think
100%,
there's a
yeah.
rush. It'll come as long as you have the ambition.
Yeah, I do a very good job of, staying in contact with people and networking and yeah, just being involved and having the right conversations and stuff. So, I'll still have my foot in the door for within combat sports for a long, long time after I finish fighting myself and, through promoting, through managing,
Hmm.
pardon me, mentoring, yeah, just involved, particularly in the women's side of things. Yeah, because obviously I can
Hmm.
relate to everything
Yeah,
they're going through.
exactly. Well, there's a lot of demand for it because I've been a part of this. I've because the platform has always been consciously for me. I wanted to make it at least 50-50, always. And I think because of that, even when I started going to management, all these women are reaching out, but it also has to do with the fact that the industry has been really tainted. Um, there's a lot of girls that come to me and like have all these horror stories of like managers, promoters and stuff. And without getting into all that, it's like they're being sort of the sport, the women's side of the sport is growing. The the management side and everything, it's been ridden with a lot of horrible stories. So they're all being pushed away and looking for other people to take care of them as the sport's
Yeah,
growing, as the opportunities increase. So I think it's very important for people like you also to set that up. And that's why when I'm looking for managers as well, because there's so many women coming in to make them feel safer, I'm trying to take on female managers too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's such a. I've been very, very blessed to have a manager on board since I first started, and I'm grateful for how he's dealt with everything to do with me. But I remember when I first was signing, like looking for a manager and signing with one, I was so skeptical and worried because you hear all these horror stories, and not even just in combat sports, but just in sports in general, like
Mm.
how managers have taken advantage of athletes, and especially for the ones that are up and coming, and anything, not even just in management, but anything to do with life when money is involved. It brings out the worst in people. So, I mean, women definitely need to be careful. Pardon me, but fighters in general, like, I mean, there's, yeah, a lot of guys that have been taken advantage of too. So
Oh,
it's not
100%.
even just
Yeah.
women. Yeah. It's a there's a lot of shady characters out there that do take advantage of people that are vulnerable and are looking for those opportunities. And yeah, it's so obviously not just even aimed at females. So unfortunately, yeah, it's there's some
Oh, yeah.
shady people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to be careful who you put in your circle. Like even the other managers I collaborate with, I'm very selective with who I work with, and we need to have the same philosophies and the same morals and all that. Because even there's some big managements again that have certain people where I feel like the mentality is sometimes they're going after them for money, as in like, you know what I mean? It's like it's because in my opinion, it's always been manager works for the fighter. The fighter is the
Yeah.
boss. Agents, even not just in fighting, everywhere. They're your boss. You're working for them. You're working together. But then sometimes it gets misconstrued, and even those bigger managements sometimes, it starts becoming the other way around.
Yeah, it's also, especially with the bigger management companies too, they only work with the fighters that are already signed to these big promotions that are bringing money in, and
Mhm.
the smaller managers are working with up and comers to a certain degree in that like stage in their career, and then they get handed over to the people that are getting the bigger dollars. So
Mhm.
it's yeah, it's an interesting world. Obviously, like I'm dealing with the sorry, just lost words. I'm working with Jackson Wing, the management company, as the director of the female side of things. Haven't done too
Mhm.
much on the side of things since my fight. Obviously, I took a step back, focusing on my fight career, and then like after my fight, I took a step back from everything. But yeah, my foot is in the door there, and yeah, it was really cool just getting to know some of the women that I was working with and just remembering what it was like to be in their shoes. And it was so good to be able to help them and just be that person for support, because, in my early days, I didn't have that myself. I didn't sign with my manager until I was already a professional athlete and just before I signed with Bellator. So I would be with Bellator now for 9 years. So
Mhm.
yeah, he's been my manager for 9 years, and I've got
Awesome.
few awesome stories to tell about Chris. But yeah, very grateful that I got a good one from the beginning.
Yeah, that's lucky. So 9 years, that's a
Yeah,
long time for sure. Uh,
yeah.
Jackson. So that's the Jackson Wink Management as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jackson Wink, yeah, started their own
Just
management
for people
company.
that don't know, it's like they have their management company as well because they're
Yeah,
they're a like a super gym basically as well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They it's really cool to even just see obviously, yeah, Jackson Wink have um yeah, trained a lot of world champions and still have world champions like under their roof now. But it's really cool to see their platform expanding too into the management. And I've just noticed recently that they've got like a training app that people who aren't on site can use to train. But yeah, it's just an evolution, just making sure that their brand continues growing.
Hmm. So what advice do you have for fighters who think, who are afraid sometimes to because when you think about retirement and they think they don't have skills or anything, and I always say you've been in this industry, right? And you have access that people would kill for sometimes, like so make use of that because the type of networking and the type of experience and connections you get from there could set you up for life.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Sorry,
because
was there a
yeah.
quick?
So yeah. So do you what advice do you have for fighters? Sorry, what advice do you have for fighters who might think that way, might be afraid of reaching the end of their career? Maybe they'll start fighting for too long, taking too much damage.
Yeah. Um, I guess and like yeah, for me personally, it's just making sure that you've got to like still love what you do.
Mhm.
This sport is dangerous. I mean, it's a sport just like any other sport, but what we do is dangerous. So you've got to love what you do. And yeah, some people are happy to walk away from it and not have anything like, have anything further to do with it. But for me personally, I love this and I love everything about it. And um, I guess for those who know kind of my journey into my fight career and why I started fighting and even more of my personal life, like my main goal in life is to give back and give back to those who have either experienced the same sorts of things as me or yeah, like I love coaching, I love teaching, I love mentoring, I love motivational speaking, I love just being able to help people in any way, whether it be so in my motivational sports talks, whether it be to inspire people or to motivate people, or in my youth services mentoring sessions to, guide teenagers who, are in less fortunate situations and are looking at sort of are a bit wayward in life and need some direction to help them in those instances. To share my own technical skills in coaching and just to share this because this sport's given me so much and at times when I feel like it's taken from me, but in the end this has given me everything that I have in my life right now, me and my kids and my family. And yeah, it's it's given me everything, but it's also made me become the person that I am today. And if I could share that little bit with somebody else and help them in their life, then yeah, that's kind of like my reason. And yeah, but again, like if for those who are fighters and yeah don't want to pursue anything, then they might want to walk away and be happy to just start something else. Like it depends on what their
Mhm.
relationship with the sport is, I guess.
Yeah, it differs per person, of course.
Yeah,
Uh, and but it's good. It's good that you still want to be involved in the sport because I think it's very necessary, and especially because when you entered, it was still growing, and now it's in its boom, like in its peak, sort of. So
yeah.
people who've been there throughout the beginning and the peak, sort of, can be the most helpful, I think, to stay
Oh, for
in there.
sure. It's
Yeah.
it's just super cool to see the evolution of it all. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
back when I first started fighting, I was an amateur boxer, but it wasn't until I started MMA, it was a Ronda Rousey era. And so she was
Yeah.
the one that made it go boom. And not just in MMA, whole way across the board with combat sports. Like she was the one that gave us a platform that we have today. And whether or not you love her or people want to knock her, you've got to be grateful for that because, when I first started fighting, I was the only girl training where I was. You know, sometimes you're lucky to have, you know, one female fight on a card, and it would be like a spectacle. The whole crowd would be drawn to it because they'd be like, oh, this girl's fighting. And now there's a fight card, hardly ever do you not see, you know, 2 or 3 girl fights on it. And it's not that we're a spectacle anymore. People aren't just gawking at us thinking, oh, well, it's these 2 females. They're looking at the females fighting because they're talented and they're just as skilled, if not more skilled, than some of the men fighting on the card. And we're respected. You know, there's all girls classes, all girls fight cards. There's, you know, it's a mixed 50-50 of men and women on the mats training. But yeah, it's not like the girls just, like I remember when I first started, if there was another girl, we just get partnered off to the side and the guys wouldn't want to be training with us. Whereas now I jump in, I'm in the mix with the guys and I'm holding my own, and they're not afraid.
You better be, because
yeah,
your fighting style.
Especially like some of the gyms that I'm training at, because it's like, yeah, like, hell yeah, I am, you know, Bellator, or number 1, number 2, now number 3. But it's still, I'm the number 3 ranked Bellator fighter, and I walked in and, you know, I'm the most successful athlete, not just female, like in the gym. Well, it depends on what gym I'm in. Obviously, if I'm walking into Alex's gym, I'm not. Or if I'm training, but like it depends. Yeah, but I'll hold that. I'll be hold my head high.
No, and like they know your accomplishments, and it's you know, and that makes them train with you differently, look at you differently, because I mean, you are the big dog there, basically.
Yeah, and I'm not just the female. Like, yeah, I'm respect, but it's like I said, really cool to see the evolution and people's you know, thoughts and opinions on seeing females on like fight shows or in the gym anymore. They don't look at them like they're females, because like I said, a lot of them are more talented and skilled than some of the guys.
And that's where I always bring up when people are like talking about, what is it, pay in sports, equal pay in sports, right? Because in MMA and in combat sports, it is pretty much equal at this point. And and it's because it draws an equal audience, and people watching the cards are also watching the women, because it's like, I feel like you need to get paid based on how many eyeballs you draw, right? So they found a very good structure, and it probably has to do with, I mean, Ronda Rousey did have a big role to play in that.
Oh, 100%. No, I won't ever have anything negative to say about anything to do with that woman. Like, I don't know her personally at all, but you know, even when people want to ask me, because I feel like I always get asked these questions waiting for me to like say something negative and a little bit of trash talk or something, which I'm but you know, even her
she decides to come back, I mean,
but even her move from MMA over to WWE, like that was like a financial move, which was super smart. Like, I mean, if somebody offered me that amount of money tomorrow to go over there and do that, I'd be terrible at it. But you know, it would be something that I would like definitely like consider and if not do it, because there's certain things in life, like even for me, you know, I've been wanting to step back into the boxing ring for a long time. Like, boxing is my passion, and it's always the root of everything. Like, I'm anger fist, everyone knows I like to throw punches, but for me, like, it hasn't been worth my while to step back into the boxing ring because of the money side of things. Like, I can do a fight camp and spend the same amount of time and effort and energy and commitment in a fight camp and box, but literally get paid like shrapnel compared to what I do in MMA. So it's just, it's not worth my while. So I mean, that's my sort of like decision that I've had to make, and it's going against like what I want, and purely because of the purposes of money and finances. So for Ronda to obviously leave MMA, and you know, that might have been her passion and obviously everything like that, but money talks. So yeah,
the women's boxing, it's in a boom right now. It's in the lift, but it's like, it's at the beginning. It's where women's MMA was when Ronda Rousey came in, right? You know, where there was Ronda Rousey, there was people making a lot of money, but there was only very few. But boxing is now at that beginning stage of that, the women's side of it. So it just needs a little bit of time, but I think it's coming, you know. Of course, it's going to take ages for them to make as much as the men, because boxing is astronomical. It's like tens of millions.
But I mean, females in general,
but at least to make it worthwhile and going through a camp, like you said, and everything, like, it'll get there soon.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, no. Boxing here in Australia, unfortunately, isn't paying a lot of money at all. But yeah, I know I probably could have pushed the point a little bit more and got the paychecks that I wanted. But it's also a respect out of having the respect I have for both sports too. Boxing is a full-time sport and MMA is a
Mhm.
full-time sport. And
Yeah.
I already look at my fight camps with MMA and I feel like there's just not enough hours in the day to even feel like you're 100% covering every aspect of an MMA fight camp. Like, yeah, and boxing itself, it's a sweet science. You need a full fight camp for that. So to sort of be jumping between the two is
Mm.
really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, you've trained as well with her with Larissa Shields when she was jumping between the two, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, was it like tough because I mean she's elite boxing, so she I bet she doesn't because it's so ingrained in her. She doesn't have as much of an issue like getting back to boxing. But
We had
was
some.
it weird for her? Do you
Oh,
think like
it
she was
was.
struggling with the stance and everything?
Oh well, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna like transition from boxing to MMA, there's no better gym to do it than Jackson Wink. Obviously, look at the success Holly had, but they're a great gym for anyone that's even just starting out to like really teach you the basics well. They do that very well. It was great to be in the gym with Clarissa when she was, in her camps for her first PFL fights, and we had some great sparring sessions and a whole lot of stories I can tell from those. But yeah, she's a dangerous woman to stand in front of with 4-ounce gloves. Those punches, she does not throw
Mhm.
anything softly. She throws with intent, and she turned this boxer into a wrestler real quick.
Yeah.
So I was straight for that. We had some we were great for each other because obviously everyone was going to try and take Clarissa down, and so she needed
Mhm.
people to be taking her down. And yeah, that's what I was doing. I was just double legging her every chance I had and was taking her down because yeah, that right hand, holy shit, she throws it. So
Yeah. Well, that's great
yeah.
preparation for Cyborg. I mean,
Well, that's it. And you know what? That was actually something that I in my mental practices, standing in front of Clarissa, having Holly home as a training partner. Those two girls, Holly's just as fierce of a training partner too. She it's great to be in the presence of both those girls who obviously have both reached the top of both their sports and stuff, and they're seeing their mindsets because yeah, they're there to win every round, like every minute of every round in every session. And yeah, there's no friends on the mats. Obviously safe training partners, but yeah, it's their mentality is next level. And yeah, I learn a lot from
Mhm.
training with them. And they definitely both toughened me up in preparation for that cyborg fight. And I actually have a lot to thank for the two of them for that.
That's amazing. That's like the winner mentality of them wanting to win every minute, well, every round in training as well.
Well, I can tell you this
And
now. I've played dominoes with Holly, and she doesn't even like losing at that. she's she's
wow.
competitive and everything, but like I love her. Like it's awesome. Like because yeah, I mean, this is the thing. We're not here, dancing around. Like it's a dangerous sport, and if you're not in it, then you're not serious. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that competitiveness about them. Like, we'll be training and it'll be hard training. And then as soon as the session's over, we're all hugging and laughing and talking and hanging out and do whatever. But yeah, like I said, I've been very, very lucky to be in like close proximity with a lot of people who've just had a mentality that's been next level, like Holly, Clarissa, getting to train with Alex down at freestyle, like his mindset, mentality and training is just next level. And
Mhm.
yeah, I've learned a lot from a lot of people that I've been around, which has been really, really good.
It's like people aligning, people who have the same philosophy. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. And they're just
Yeah.
good
With
people too. Like it's
yeah.
Holly is one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. Well, obviously once you're a friend.
Yeah.
And the same with Alex, like he's just a good family guy. He'll help you out if you're on those mats and sharing those mats with him. He yeah, he's a good guy. He's always there to help you out. He's a good teammate.
I've got some questions about from people asking who are the next up and comers in Australia that you see. Are you
Next
still a
up
bit
and
in touch with their talents coming up as well? So because you spend most of your, I mean, your fight camps and everything in Albuquerque, right, in New Mexico, but
yeah. Well, you guys have just had Drop Bear on.
Drop Bear is the
Jennifer-
homie. That's one of my best friends.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
well, she's got a big fight coming up with Fane. What's
Mhm.
Fane's last name?
Mesquita.
Yes, can't pronounce it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean that'll be a really interesting fight. Fane fought a good friend of mine a couple of months ago now, but yeah, she's a very strong, physical, well-rounded fighter herself. So yeah, that'll be a super interesting one. I think the winner of that fight could go on to be the next girl that's signed sort of overseas. Obviously,
Mhm.
it's their professional debut, but there's
For both
been
of them.
people signed. Pardon?
For both of them, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, God, there's been professional debut fighters debut on Bellator for their professional debuts. So
Yeah. What? Sumiko did. She had a professional
yeah,
debut on
yeah,
Bellator as well. Look what she's doing.
yeah. So yeah, I've known a few of them now that have done that. So yeah, that's an awesome thing about Bellator is that they give people chances. They don't wait for them to have these undefeated records or like on a win streak or something. They see
Mhm.
potential in a fighter, and they give them the opportunity. And it was the same thing with me. Like my record was 5-4 when I think it was 5-4, something like that. 5-4 when I signed with Bellator. But they saw something in me and they believed in me, and they've stuck it out with me over these years, and I've gone to do great things within the
Yeah.
promotion, and being loyal to them as well. So but yeah, so those two. Who else have we got? Even did you guys have Justin on your show recently? Ben Heerden, Lockjaw.
No, but I put him in because I put out the top 5 prospects to watch for men and women each, and I had
Yeah,
Justin Van Heerden in there. Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Haven't had him
yeah.
on yet. No.
Yeah. Well, obviously Colby. He's from freestyle as well. He's definitely like one to keep an eye. Like he's for a kid that's
Mhm.
only 21. I think he might be 22 now, actually, because I'm pretty sure he's the same age as my daughter. But the wealth of knowledge he has for someone so young is
Oh man,
ridiculous.
it's.
Yeah.
I think in general it's
Um,
just freaky to see sometimes like how good these people are at what age now.
yeah, yeah. We've got I know that Janae Harding's got a fight coming up with Jamie
Mhm.
Adendon.
Mhm.
Diggenden, might have
Yeah,
pronounced
and
that
then
wrong. But that's a big fight. Like obviously, like I remember being in Janae's shoes after my first contract with Bellator, and I didn't re-sign with them straight away because I was trying to possibly see if I go the UFC route. I wasn't sure what I kind of was doing, so I had a fight back here actually with Janae on local soil, and it was a bit of a scary thing to kind of step away from a promotion like Bellator and have a fight on a promotion that wasn't as big in that, because it's a risk, because obviously
yeah.
if you lose that, you kind of like close that door. But
Yeah.
this is a big fight for Jamie because if she gets a win over Janae, then that kind of puts her in a good
Yeah.
opportunity to get signed overseas. But yeah, I'm actually heading over in a couple of weeks to train with Janae at City
Nice.
Kickboxing. Yeah,
Say hi. We're
Janae and
gonna
I.
have her on still. I'm gonna have her on before every fight because she's the homie. She's just great, as a person.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And she looked fantastic. Like I was at that fight, cage side, last time, and like you understand how promotions think sometimes, but like, I mean, I personally thought she won the fight. She could have won the fight, but yeah.
yeah,
Are you
she
gonna
looked
train with her?
awesome with her rematch
Yeah,
with Sinead. I
on home
actually,
soil for yeah.
yeah, definitely, especially God, that Dublin crowd would have been, that
Oh,
atmosphere would be
I can send you a
insane.
video. That was amazing. Have you fought in
Yeah,
Dublin? Yeah, you did,
no,
right? No?
no, I
Oh.
haven't.
No, actually Cyborg did. That's what yeah.
Yeah, I was looking. I was looking at pushing to fight over there because it's kind of given me a really good excuse to then holiday in Europe after
Yeah.
it while I'm there. No, I just, because I do my fight camps over at Jackson Week now, I've just always pushed for the American cards, and obviously I built like a really good fan base in Hawaii, which is why my
Mhm.
last 2 fights have been in Hawaii. But yeah, no, back to the Janae fight. I
Yeah.
actually thought that she was technically the better fighter. She
Yeah.
was just so well rounded and scoring really well, but I think Sinead just had that really powerful punch and had more effectiveness in her
Yeah.
punches. So, and yeah, it's interesting because you had taken that same fight and put it somewhere else with a different set of judges, it could have gone another way. So that's unfortunate when you leave fights up to the judges, and again, depending on what judges you have sitting there judging the fight. Yeah, so
Yeah, there's one specific one we talk about all the time, so it's he was there. He
yeah,
was one of them too.
yeah,
It was ridiculous because she very clearly won round 2. The third one was close. The third one was a swing round. The first one was Sinead.
yeah,
It's actually quite a funny Janae and Sinead, like how differently you spell the names, but how similar they sound. But yeah, um, but he still gave 30-27, even though the second one there's no other way to score it than Janae. So
yeah. No,
it happens, and yeah, it's a
I've
risk.
been stung by judges a few times, and I would have been a world champion back in my first attempt at the Bellator title if it hadn't been for judges. And I was a bit of a sore loser for a long, long time after that. But you know what? At the end of the day, they say don't leave it to the judges. So yeah, you don't leave it
Which
to the
is
judges.
Yeah, and I understand why they say it, but it's such a stupid thing, right? Like it's not the sport we're playing. Like yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I guess when it comes to MMA, you've got more chances of finishing a fight than you do, say, in boxing. Like boxing is a little bit hard to like clean knock out someone, but I mean MMA, you get there, you ground and pound finish someone,
hmm
submit them, knock them out. I mean, I've got knockout like power, and yeah, it almost was there in my last fight.
yeah. I thought you had her, and I was getting
Yeah,
excited.
yeah. It's a little
Yeah,
slight slip up in my fight IQ, and yeah, end up back on the ground.
yeah.
Leaving you
Oh
alone,
man,
but this is
we're touching a lot of bases here, and I love it. I mean, you've got time, right?
yeah, I can talk all day once I get started.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I was about
I'm
to say like we could talk all day
like,
about things, and I really don't mind. Uh, but because we're on this topic now. I mean, in Bellator, like you've heard the rumors, everything, the acquisitions, and everything like that. Like, what do you think about that? Does it play a role in your decision making in your career and everything like that? And
no, not
because
really, to be
nobody,
honest.
yeah,
Yeah, I've had a few people sort of mention it, like, oh, what do you think? And I'm like, you know what, my saying in life is whatever happens, happens, and whatever comes from it. Yeah, like I mean, for me, I'm paying more attention to PFL at the moment too, because there is a featherweight division now, and there's all these new signings.
absolutely.
So, as my manager said to me too, like I mean, if there is like a sort of a collaboration with the two, it just means more potential opponents for me.
hmm
PFL have obviously got money. Like my only concern would be, what my next sort of contract, or if I can sort of maintain, the money that I'm on right now, and I don't take a
hmm
hit to my next contract. But yeah, at the end of the day, all I can control is how I fight and how I perform, and yeah. So for me, I've just got to make sure I win. So that's my first priority, is just win, win, win. And yeah, I guess go out there and be that superstar that I know I can be, and yeah, everything else will fall into place. Whatever will be, will be. So
Well,
yeah,
I personally don't think. Sorry.
it'll be yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it's exciting.
cool. I
It's like
remember when
it could be.
PFL first came. Oh, sorry.
I think there
um,
might be a slight delay, and that's why this happens sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, what I was
you can
saying
go.
was, I know when PFL first came onto the scene, people were like, "Oh, this promotion won't last. They're throwing too
hmm
much money around. It's it's not going to be something that they can continue on with." But here they are. I mean, what year are we into now? Oh, 3 years
Um,
or 4 years?
I mean, I've been watching it for 3 years now, in the new format. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think
So
three. I would say 3 big years because that's when I started watching
yeah,
PFL.
yeah. So, good on them. And yeah,
Yeah.
whatever happens next, yeah, it's a big money move. And obviously, it must be the right fit for Bellator if that's what Scott Coke is wanting
Hmm.
to do. So, I don't think it means anything for my career. It doesn't mean that I'm going to sort of like jump ship or anything. Like, touching base on what I said before, Bellator saw something in me and believed in me years ago, and that's where my loyalty is sort of stuck with them over the years, and I've stayed on with them.
Yeah, but also like logic would say like if you're highly ranked, they'll keep you because what the acquisition. I mean, if anything, PFL is buying a roster and a catalog of fighters, right? So you want to keep the best ones on, and that's what you're
Yeah,
buying the promotion for if you do. So, um,
yeah.
it won't be anything to worry about for you, I'm sure.
As long as I
And
keep winning.
as long as you keep winning, yeah. But it seems to be happening very soon, so it might even happen before your next fight. Like I don't know. And speaking of that, like, do you have anything in the works right now?
Yeah, it's funny. I had that time away with my surgery, and it's the longest my manager has gone without me hounding him for trying to organize a fight. So it was good just to sort of, obviously we stay in contact regularly, but we were talking everything but fighting pretty much.
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess he would have been excited when I finally sent that message saying, okay, I want to start getting to know like what's next for me now. So yeah, I'll be back inside the Bellator cage in December,
Hmm.
which gives me enough time to get through my like proper rehab with my knee, and then and build a good base of fitness, and obviously my skills again. And yeah, like I said before, I'm going over to City Kickboxing next month, spend a couple of weeks over
Wow.
there with
Oh
the
yeah, Janae,
girls,
yeah.
and obviously the team. Yeah, the team are all like there's a whole stable of fighters preparing for UFC in Sydney. So the energy in the gym will be good. And
Wow.
that's kind of like scene I want to get back into. So spend 2 weeks over there. Then I'll come back, and then yeah, obviously prepared to pack up and head over to Jackson Wink and do my fight camp, and yeah, fight in December, and then wrap up the year and enjoy Christmas.
Exciting. Exciting, exciting. And then you can let the business happen. Work itself out, all the other stuff
Yeah.
outside of your career. Um, there's no names that you're eyeing. There's no like, or there haven't been any offers made.
No, no. So to be fair, it's opponent to be advised, and yeah, location as well. So I was kind of trying to put my feelers out to try and get an idea of where it's going to be. Because yeah, obviously Bellator only sort of put out their schedule a couple of months in advance. I think we're up until September at the moment, but yeah, so no idea where December will be, and yeah, no idea. I mean, yeah, everyone knows me. I will fight anyone. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm coming off a two fight losing streak, so it'd be nice to get back into a win column. But I've never been
Hmm.
known to take an easy fight. So any fight that I take now, if it's a high ranked fighter, obviously it's risky, and if it's an unranked fighter, it's even riskier. But so yeah, the next one I just need to go in and focus on me. Focus on my fight camp and preparation, and just go in there and make a statement. And I've done it before. I haven't been in this situation since being with Bellator. I've never lost more than one fight. I've always come bounce straight back.
Hmm.
So this is new territory for me. But yeah, I'm definitely not going 3 losses. I know that. So it doesn't matter who.
Statistically impossible if you look at it. you know.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like yeah, as you said, you took the toughest fights. But yeah, I really hope you bounce back. I have a lot of confidence in it, and you're doing all the right things. So I'll be
Yeah.
rooting for you. Yeah. One thing I'd say add to that is, if anything, you know, if you want to end your career the right way one day, it's gonna be you, Cyborg, in bare knuckle.
That would, yeah. I've kind of put that idea out there. It was a while ago now, but I think it might have been before our first fight. But I really thought it'd be cool to do a trilogy with Chris and have a boxing fight, a kickboxing
Hmm.
fight, and an MMA fight. And we would be the first in history
Uh,
to have gone all three. And it would be really cool if it had been obviously a kickboxing fight under the Bellator banner,
oh yeah,
obviously an MMA
yeah.
fight under the Bellator banner, and then yeah, and then obviously a boxing card that Bellator could obviously give us permission to fight on or whatever. But yeah, it'd be really cool to do that with her. Chris and I have a huge amount of respect for each other as athletes and women and mothers, and yeah. But obviously, when we get into the cage, it's business. But yeah, we do have that respect for each other. And yeah, I would really like to do that with her. It'd be cool. So, but yeah, bare knuckle boxing for sure. God, could you imagine that? I mean, I've been cut now, so.
I mean, yeah, I've been imagining it. I've been imagining it ever since they keep reaching out to me for talent and everything. I'm like, that would be the dream fight, honestly, to make.
Yeah. I mean, if they want to send me over a dollar value, make it worth my while, I'm 100% there, and I'm sure Chris would be too. That would be a fight.
I'm gonna plant the seed and see. Let's see. All right. Hey, Arlene, thank you very much for doing the show. Do you have anything else you wanted to add? Anyone you want to thank?
I would like to thank all my fans and followers, mostly. Obviously, I've got all my trainers and sponsors and everyone that I always say thank you to, and I will always say thank you to. But my fans and followers, and obviously anyone that's listening to this podcast, but I really do have a good fan base. I don't have any trash talkers that follow me and comment and stuff. Like, I don't know if it's because I carry myself in a respectable manner, and I don't sort of, I'm not controversial with things I post and stuff, but I'm very, very grateful for the people that, like my posts and comment and reach out, send messages and stuff, because it does mean a lot. And especially when you're going through tough times and that too, knowing that, I am that inspirational, I help motivate people, or people, truly do follow and support me. It helps a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, and thank you. I appreciate it too. No, I noticed this. It's an Aussie thing too. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of Aussie fighters where, like, in the Aussie fight community, it's like there's no beefs. It seems like there's very few. There's a lot of support. There's not as much hate.
Oh, we all back each other, 100%.
Yeah, yep. It's a lot of pride, and I love it too, because the more Aussies I have on, like, I've been growing an Aussie fan base, and so I just run with it because I like them. I like the fan base a lot too, and the community, and yeah.
I guess for all of us Australians too, like, I mean, obviously, I was one of sort of the original OGs, that started off on the international scene, but it's cool watching more and more people come over. But yeah, we all back each other because, we came from a small minority. It's still a sport that's growing here. Unless you're an MMA fan, it's still getting frowned upon by a lot of, people who don't.
That's right.
Respect the sport. Even touching base now on Alex Volkanovski not receiving the key to Wollongong because the mayor thinks that MMA is a violent sport and this and that. So, like, this is what the culture that we have here in Australia is, that it's not as widely as appreciated as it is in America and other countries. So yeah, for us fighters, we know what it's like to sort of have to work hard for our sponsorship, to get to our training and everything, grow our platform. And so us Anzacs too, Australian and New Zealand, we all back each other.
Yeah, no, for sure. It actually is. I just remembered that too, and it's strange to think about because Australia, well, the whole Oceania scene has been this next superpower that came up in MMA and in combat sports and boxing as well. So, for it to be frowned upon still, and you just don't really, it's hard to fathom.
No, I've had a lot of rejections from sponsorships because they don't want to endorse combat sports because of the violence. Like, and it's so funny. Like, I've had female sporting activewear brands that I love and I still buy, but and I was like, reached out for sponsorship and that, and it's funny enough because in their advertisements they'll have female models with boxing gloves on, or punching a boxing bag, wearing the activewear, but yet they don't actually want to have a woman who, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I'm a partner, I'm a family person, I'm respectable, but yeah, they don't want to endorse fighting because it's violent, and I'm just like, anyway, so
okay,
anyway,
still capitalizing on the fan base though. Yeah, I mean, okay, I hope that changes. All you can do is keep winning, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and
I will. Thank
we'll be in
you.
touch. Till the
All right,
next one.
awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.